Welcome to week 3 of Writing Proposals and Grants. I'm really looking forward to reading your memos about Komen and Wounded Warrior and Dan Pallotta and your thoughts on ethical issues embodied in all of those situations. This week is the third week in the beginning segment of this course. So the first week was about nonprofits, what they do, how big they are, what it looks like worldwide. Second week was on governance and ethics. This week we're moving to philanthropy. Because a lot of the writing that we're going to do for this course pertains to philanthropy. And I think it's really important that when you're writing, you know who you're writing to and who you're writing about, which is part of why we've spent a good bit of, a couple of weeks in this class really getting grounded in the nonprofit sector. I know some of you work in the nonprofit sector, but it's always important to kind of have a view of the whole sector. Now, this week, it's philanthropy. So that's our focus. Do you know how much money was given away last year? $410 billion was given away in the U.S. alone. And our focus is going to be on the U.S. this week. So $410 billion. Can you imagine how much of that money was given by individuals, how much by corporations, how much by foundations? You probably are going to think that corporations gave a good amount of that money and foundations gave a lot of it and individuals, maybe they gave 40 or 50%. And if that's what you're thinking, you're absolutely wrong. Almost 85, 88, 90% of giving in the U.S. is done by individuals, either from direct individual giving or from bequests or from family foundations that really are individually driven as opposed to a private corporate foundation. So that's who really gives the lion's share of money, and you're going to take a look at that this week. One of the things we're also going to look at is what the future of philanthropy is. So Andrew Carnegie and the Gospel of Wealth was a really foundational document for philanthropy for the 1900s. Okay, we're now in 2018, moving forward into the 21st century, and things are changing. Things are changing a lot. In the U.S., there's going to be trillion-dollar wealth transfer from the baby boomers to their kids, to millennials and other folks. There is a change in the workplace where baby boomers have dominated, but baby boomers are beginning to retire. Now, that retirement is a little slower because of the financial crisis, but it's still happening. It's a huge change in the workplace. Baby boomers gave direct mail, they gave workplace giving, they did traditional forms of giving. We're seeing the millennials come to the fore in corporate leadership and in philanthropy. So if millennials give in a very, very different way, you're going to read a little bit about that. So the whole shape of fundraising and philanthropy in the nonprofit world is changing. And so I think it's important that you look at what sort of started the ball rolling in the 1900s, but also what's changing going forward. So Catherine Fulton, you're actually going to watch a TED Talk by her. And her TED Talk is about it's called You Are the Future of Philanthropy. You're also going to read Darren Walker, who heads up the Ford Foundation and is a very influential person in the philanthropy space. You're going to read a selection of essays that was in The Nation, or interviews or short pieces that are all actually responding to the Gospel of Wealth. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of what you think about the Gospel of Wealth, which is a very much 19th century document, and the new writings and TED Talks that you're going to read during this lesson. So that's going to spark some thinking on your part. And you will begin to work on your first reflection paper this week. Well, actually, you'll first have your first conversation with your nonprofit executive and talk to them about some of the questions I gave you, but any other question that you'd like to talk to about them, with them, ask them, about their career, but also ask them about how they're thinking about philanthropy and how philanthropy is changing. The questions I gave you are really a sort of a starting point for the conversation. It doesn't have to be the be-all and the end-all, and I'm not looking for you to do a write-up where you tell me the answers to each of those questions. I'm looking for you to have a conversation with your nonprofit executive and to really begin to build a relationship with him or her. You're also going to start on your first reflection paper for this semester. So your reflection paper is really a way for you to reflect back on the first segment of the course, how you think about it, Did it change how you thought about giving or about philanthropy or about nonprofits, or, just to reflect back on how it's impacting on you and how you're thinking about things. So that's this lesson. The other really, really key thing for you to start thinking about is I would like you to pick a nonprofit to do your assignments on. Going forward, because after this we're going to start moving into foundation proposals, foundation research, and that sort of thing. So you need to start thinking about what nonprofit do you want to use as your nonprofit, because you need to write a proposal for a particular nonprofit to a particular foundation. And I'm going to teach you how to identify foundations, but it has to start with your knowing a nonprofit that you want to work with. So it could be where you're working. For some of you who are working at NYU or elsewhere for nonprofits, you can pick that nonprofit. You can pick a place that you volunteer. You can pick one of the places that your nonprofit executive has worked for. And you can ask them about that on the call. So it's really important to begin to think about that. What I'd like all of you to do is to send me an email about what nonprofit you'd like to work on for this course. And I'm also going to be sending you an announcement out in some some further information on how to think about that. I also want to make sure that everybody is checking announcements and is reading announcements if they get emailed to you, because I got a number of questions this weekend about the questions for the nonprofit exec because you had your calls scheduled for Monday, and I responded via an announcement that should have also been emailed to you. So it's important for you to be checking announcements, and that's a tab that should be on the top left of your course site. So let me know if you have any trouble with announcements. It is a really important way that I communicate with everybody. So enjoy week 3, and I really look forward to beginning to see what your conversations with your nonprofit exec look like, and also your reflection paper on the first segment of this course. Talk to you soon. Bye.